I'm going to start this off by saying that Dragon's Dogma 2 is one of the most memorable open-world action RPGs that I have played in recent memory. If you're a fan of open worlds and actually being rewarded for your exploration, Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be a game that you are going to absolutely fall in love with. There are things that it does well, extremely well, and not so great, but as a whole, this is easily one of the best games of 2024 in a year full of absolutely amazing titles that are coming out. And I've put over 70 hours into Dragon's Dogma 2 already, and I was able to put 20 to 30 hours into the game just exploring the first area of the game without even passing the first town. There is so much to explore and find, and every nook and cranny in this open world has something in it for you to find. Now, unlike a lot of recent open world games, Dragon's Dogma 2 is about freedom. You're not going to find your map filled with all sorts of icons for you to go find, spoiling everything before you get to it. You're not going to have quest markers all over your map. The developers of this game really wanted you to explore the game how you want to, without really forcing you into anything. Now, obviously, there are main story quests, side quests that are timed, and your decisions actually will impact the world and the characters within them. Some of these timed quests could involve a child being killed if you don't get there in time, which is one of the things that I really love about the side quests in this game, is there are certain things that happen that make you feel like you need to do that right now. It also doesn't feel like it's pulling you away from the main story arc, because a lot of these side things that you experience in the world will actually help you further down the line in the main story, and you'll see a lot of reoccurring characters or story arcs as you progress through not only main quests, but also side quests. Now, I don't want to give a ton of spoilers, but I definitely recommend as you explore new things, make sure to flesh out those stories. You will have multiple choices within them, and it could drastically change the way you do things throughout the game, and I absolutely love that. The combat in Dragon's Dogma 2 is amazing. You have a whole bunch of different vocations, which are classes if you're unfamiliar with the vocation system. You can start off as a fighter, a mage, a rogue, or an archer, and you'll unlock more vocations as you go through the game, unlocking different types of playstyles for you and your pawn. You can switch between these at any point in time, as long as you go to a place where you can change your vocations, so you can technically play through any class in the game if you want to. Also, having the ability to climb on top of monsters and defeat them in different ways is really cool, adds a lot of variety to the game that I really enjoyed. As you fight these monsters, you also see that they get weakened, they'll start fighting you in different ways, they'll become more aggressive or weakened and start falling to the ground. It's kind of reminiscent of a Monster Hunter game in that respect, although we actually have a health bar to see how much damage we're doing, which is nice for those people that played Monster Hunter before, but always complained about not having health bars. But the real interesting thing about Dragon's Dogma 2 is your party system. You have a pawn, which you can fully create for yourself, and then you can have two other pawns that you acquire from other players that are playing in the game. You go into a rift and you can recruit these. They will not level up with you and your pawn, so you will have to recruit various other player pawns throughout your playthrough. As you level up, you're going to want to get higher level pawns. These are going to come with all of the equipment that they have been equipped with from their actual player character in another realm. But what's interesting about this is these pawns gain knowledge from other players. So they'll actually talk to you as you're exploring the world, they'll direct you to chests, caves, and other points of interest that you might not have found already, and they'll even lead you to them if you want them to. This is a way for you to actually kind of have this real party system inside of the game with these AI characters that will direct you to different points of interest, and it feels a lot better than your typical party system in the game where they're just there, but they don't really interact with you in the world. You can high-five them, they'll help you do all sorts of things. It can get a little buggy at times, fall off cliffs and die, but for the most part, the pawn system in this game is phenomenal, and I really like being pointed out to a cave or a chest that I missed, and I'm going back through with a new pawn that I've recruited, and it will take me to something that I want to explore. Now, there are some issues with the game. The visuals aren't always the best. There's quite a few glitchy graphics at times. A lot of the times when you're interacting in cutscenes, characters won't be facing the person they're talking to, or they'll be turning around and kind of glitching all over the place. So from a respect of like cutscenes and character face movement, there's a lot of like uncanny valley with some of these faces in the game. But when you have over 1,000 NPCs with their own stories, objectives, and things like that, I can forego the graphical side of it in some of these more buggier conversations for a more in-depth world that we really want to explore, discover the stories of these NPCs. So while it can be a little weird to see a character facing a wall, talking with his eyes looking like it wants to steal your soul, or sometimes glitching all over the place, At first, it kind of brought me out of the immersion of the game, but I started caring less and less about that because I was so invested into the game and figuring out every single nook and cranny, every story arc, every possibility that I had. I really just didn't care anymore. But I do have to notate that that is a bit of a downside. Otherwise, the visuals in the game are pretty great. The sound design I've enjoyed quite a bit, and especially when you're getting attacked by a griffin at random and it flies out of the sky out of nowhere, crashes down onto the ground, there's a massive explosion in air and you're knocked to the ground and just kind of completely disoriented, not only in the game, but in real life as well. It's moments like these that really make me fall in love with the game. And the way that the world interacts with you can be pretty overwhelming at times. I saw a golem for the first time and I was really hesitant to fight it, but it didn't seem like there was any other danger. I just rested, so I engaged this golem and instantly there's 5 other creatures coming in to attack and a griffin flies out of the sky. So not only do I have to deal with a griffin that I've never killed before, I have to fight a golem that I've never fought and a bunch of other creatures at once, dealing with my pawns being picked up and thrown by the griffin, the golem stomping and destroying everything, and it really creates these crazy interactions in the game that you just don't find in other games nowadays. And the sheer freedom that you get to explore the world as you see fit, without having everything spoiled for you like Ubisoft games do nowadays, which I love Ubisoft games, but the way that these developers have kind of progressed into showing you so much on the map, your quest log being overflowing at all times with things that you really don't care about, all of these stupid fetch quests, a lot of those nightmares are gone in Dragon's Dogma 2. And it allows you to immerse yourself into the world, and that is my favorite type of game, and a direction that I hope developers really start taking into the future. Now, while I've played about 70 hours of Dragon's Dogma 2, I will be live streaming this with a fresh playthrough, and I've actually avoided most of the story as well because I really wanted to have as much of a fresh look for it for live streaming as possible. So I've done a ton of world exploration, a ton of fighting various bosses that I could find in the open world, exploring dungeons, doing side quests, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Now, I'll be doing tons of tutorials if you're going to be getting into Dragon's Dogma 2, so make sure to keep an eye out on the channel for those. Now, I'm not a big fan of doing rating systems for games, so I really wanted to do a buy or wait system for Dragon's Dogma 2 in any review I do in the future, and I have to say, if you love open worlds, you love action RPGs, and you're looking for something to immerse yourself in, Dragon's Dogma 2 is an absolute buy. And you will find yourself almost unable to stop because the curiosity almost never ends with this. And if it wasn't for some of the glitchier NPCs, the uncanny valley of some of the faces for these characters, and the way that they kind of bug around when they talk to you, pulling you out of the immersive nature of the game, I would give this a solid 10 out of 10, but due to those facts, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10 and an absolute buy. But I do hope you all will join me when I start live streaming this game, and a major thank you to Capcom for providing me early access to be able to play and review Dragon's Dogma for all of you. And I really do hope you all join me for my Dragon's Dogma 2 live streams, as well as tutorial videos that I'll be releasing, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.